Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our lunchtime webinar series for the School of Commerce. My name is Liz Botha. I'm the head of the department for the school, and it's my privilege to welcome everybody here. This is a lunchtime conversation where we want to stimulate marketing conversation, maybe some marketing debates, maybe some new ways to think about marketing. And we're going to do that with the help of our guest speakers over the next couple of weeks. And I'm very, very proud to do this in association with MASA, the Marketing Association of South Africa. And we've got Llewellyn Olivier here today. So Llewellyn is the General Manager and Head of Strategy for Aquila Zone, which is an independent full-service boutique agency in Johannesburg, South Africa. He's got over 2 decades of experience in brand and media management from an agency perspective. He's a senior marketing consultant focused on providing professional marketing, brand communication, and advertising services to medium-sized enterprises. A big portfolio. Llewellyn, I know that you've been involved with a number of brands. I quickly see a Union Tile, Decton, New Tech Wood. So it's a big portfolio, and we're so excited for you to come and share your experience and your expertise with our young marketing professionals, because that's what the series is about. Llewellyn is active in the Marketing Association of South Africa. He's a professional designated chartered marketer, which we call the CMSA, and a PQE advisor for MASA, which is great because the entire MASA gang, if you will, is also very much here, and they support young marketing professionals and starting the conversation. So that's also good to know that the industry is supporting one another with these conversations. Llewellyn has an honors degree in strategic brand communication and advanced diploma in brand innovation. So I'm so excited for you to come and share your expertise, Llewellyn. I know that the title today is Grow Beyond the Sale and Building Brand Trust, which I assume is a very topical and challenging conversation at the moment.
Most definitely, it's one of those really necessary conversations that has become more and more relevant in our post-COVID world.
And I like that you say post-COVID, right? Because post-COVID has allowed us to make a shift, not only online, sitting, having a conversation, but also in the marketing industry and in the marketing world. So that's going to be very exciting to learn from you today. But before we get started, I have to ask, have you had lunch? What are you planning for lunch, or what did you have for lunch, Llewellyn?
So I'm one of the privileged few that still works from home in this post-COVID world. So normally my wife prepares the most elaborate lunches. So probably in about half an hour, I'll start smelling the aroma from the kitchen, and I'll start drooling because I know something amazing is going to be waiting for me.
Oh, that's lovely. You are so lucky. I'm sort of in between. Should I have a sandwich? Should I have a salad? Is it going to be tuna? Is it going to be chicken? So I'll decide a little bit later. But on that delicious note, I hope everybody has grabbed lunch, a coffee, and that we're ready for the conversation. I just want to welcome everybody joining the session and just alert you to the polls. We've added a couple of polls that's very topical where you can go and vote. How do you think about the topics that we're going to discuss today? There's also a live chat. So if you have any questions, please pop it in there. We'll monitor it. We'll give an opportunity for questions. So Llewellyn, over to you. Thank you so much. I'm very excited. My pen, my paper, we are ready. You can go.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Let's go for it. So good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Liz, thank you so much for that awesome introduction. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me in this lunchtime session. So as Liz mentioned, my name is Llewellyn Oliver, and I'm really proud to be associated with the Marketing Association. In my career, I've really been able to enjoy working with diverse brands, and I've also enjoyed working in a different world than most other ad agencies or most other marketing professionals actually get to work in. And that is the world of the SME. I've spoken to a number of marketers and a number of CMOs, and I've always I always end up with the same challenge. And I say, the world that you experience is different to the world that the SME experiences. And the reason why we positioned ourselves as an agency serving the SME market is to provide this vital service and to provide the vital expertise to the SME market. And in our post-COVID world, there's been a greater push towards understanding the need for investment into brand instead of just going for immediate gratification. So I'm going to be talking about over the next few minutes about developing a crucial strategy for long-term success in business, and that is to prioritize brand trust and brand love over just pure sales promotions, so that we can outline the importance for balance that's needed for sustainable growth. So let me get started and let's go straight into the slides. So as Liz mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, there is a poll that I would love for you to take part in, because that's going to actually help us to set the tone, and it's also going to help us to either frame or reframe ourselves in terms of how do we position ourselves for success. This is something that you can take for your personal brand. It's also something you can take for brands that you're working with or brands that you're going to be working with in the future if you're still a student. But if you're a marketing professional that's already active in this crazy world that we live in, hopefully that this discussion is going to help you to reframe your thinking around the importance of brand. So that poll is merely a question that's asking, which do you believe is the most important element for long-term business growth? And you'll see there's three really uh, pertinent questions in there, and I've added in one that's come across a lot in the SME space. The question of brand building: is it for big corporates? Is it only for big corporates with deep pockets, or is it for everyone? So I would love to see where you all lie in that poll. So let's set the stage. Research suggests that the average person makes around 35,000 choices every single day. Many of these decisions are minor and they're subconscious. Things like, what do we eat? What do we wear? While others are more deliberate and more significant, like choosing a product or a service. So in terms of consumer choices, studies estimate that a typical adult makes about 200 decisions relating to food alone every single day. These numbers vary depending on lifestyle, occupation, personal habits. And in a world where consumers are bombarded with endless choices, what makes a brand stand out? That's always the question, something that we come across a lot. People often mistake a brand for a logo. And so the point that we want to drive home today is that the brand is more than just a logo. The sheer volume of decisions highlight the importance of brand trust and brand love, because they can simplify and influence consumer decision making in favor of a particular brand, which cuts through the clutter of options. It's not just about the products that you sell or the services that you sell or the prices that you're offering. It's about the relationships and the deep emotional connections that you make or that you build with your consumers or your customers. And I want to put forward to you today that this relationship, that these connections should be rooted and grounded in trust and brand love. So what you're seeing on the screen now is something I like to call the who, the what, and the why of branding. We have a belief system that if you can't tell me who you are, what you do, and why does it matter to me, then you don't understand your brand and you don't understand your brand promise. You don't understand your unique selling propositions. So what you're seeing on the screen is three major global brands: Nike, Disney, and Toyota. Then, just in the middle of that, you're seeing three of what I like to call major brands in South Africa that I've had the personal privilege of working with and still work with. Union Tiles, which was the first tile retailer to celebrate a centenary 2 years back. Summer Place Spas, and MSC Plumbing. And I brought those in because I want to show you practically how it's possible for every brand, every business to prioritize brand over merely selling a product at a low price. So I'm going to talk about experience from a plumber all the way through to a multinational South African brand. So when we look at the who, the what, and the why, when people see Nike, um, people see, what is the first thing that most people see? Is it the brand, or is it the emotion that Nike creates? Most people think shoes. If I had to ask the question, what does Nike sell? Most people would say shoes, they'd say sneakers, they would say golf apparel, they would say t-shirts. But the reality is Nike sells motivation. Nike says just do it. Consumers buy the Nike shoes. Consumers buy Nike apparel. When you look at Disney, Disney sells storytelling. Disney uses the power of storytelling to entertain people, to inspire people. And what do consumers do? Consumers buy Disney products. Consumers buy apparel. Consumers buy trips to Disneyland. Consumers subscribe to Disney Plus. But that's not the core business of Disney. Disney is a storytelling company that inspires and entertains. When you look at Toyota sells durability and dependability and longevity. What do consumers do? Consumers go and buy cars. Consumers go and buy that in the form of cars. They buy that in the form of other appliances that the Toyota brand makes. So to bring it home, we've spent the last 25 years defining the emotional connections for most of our clients' brands. When we look at Union Tiles, a brand that we've been privileged to work with since 1999, they don't just sell tiles anymore. Union Tiles sells style and quality that the everyday person can afford. And when consumers go to Union Tiles, they end up buying tiles, taps, bathrooms. They end up buying an image of what they want to see in their homes. They end up buying luxury. One of our long-standing clients, Summer Place Spas, they don't just sell jacuzzis. They sell the spa experience in your own home. That's how we've redefined their brand. And they've been able to outlast most of the competition in South Africa because of understanding what they do and why it matters, to a point where there's now only there's only three competitors that manufacture spas in South Africa in our post-COVID society, post-COVID world. One of our new clients, just to show you that even a small advertiser can invest in brand, MSC Plumbing, not just a plumber, but their focus is on giving people water security. If you look at one of the biggest challenges that South Africa's just come through, and touch wood, we will stay on the other side of it, is water and electricity security. So what did we do with a little plumber? We looked at what can they do that separates them, that we can use as a differentiator to develop a brand around them, or to develop a brand promise for them. And that was water security, empowering people to get off-grid water solutions. So instead of them relying on people to only call them when there's a burst geyser or a blocked drain, their brand promise goes into a major problem that many South Africans are facing. So why does this matter? Because studies have shown that customers who trust the brand are more likely to forgive occasional mistakes and remain loyal. Furthermore, when customers love a brand, they become its ambassadors. They spread the positivity through word of mouth, which is the most invaluable form of marketing in today's digital age. Because the bottom line is, as a brand, you don't have to sell. You don't have to sell your brand. People buy your brand. Your brand is more than just a product. It's more than just a service. A brand is trust. A brand is trust that lives in the hearts and the minds of consumers. And I'm going to show you three practical examples, as well as I'm going to include certain crises or challenges that we've been able to overcome because of developing and investing in brand in each of these instances that I'm about to show you. The first one that I brought on screen is very biasly my client that takes most of my time and that I spend a lot of time with is Union Tiles. So they are a brand that has deep Italian roots. They've been a cornerstone in the South African tile industry since 1910, but officially incorporated in 1922. So their journey began as a small tile manufacturer, and they've become the largest independent tile distributor in South Africa. And that's a testament to the power of brand trust and love. And in our tenure with this brand, since from 99 to 2024 today, we've been able to prioritize customer satisfaction by offering a diverse range of high quality products with a commitment to staying ahead of industry trends and with a focus on customer service and customer experience, which has been able to cement the reputation of a trusted brand. The growth that we've been able to develop or we've been able to work, that we've been able to achieve has been driven by more than just product offerings. It's been developed by a deep understanding of customer needs and a commitment to delivering on promises that have fostered a loyal customer base that spans generations. The Union Tiles brand is not just known but loved by their customers, and it's allowed them to expand their footprint across major metropolitans in South Africa. Since we started with them when they had only 2 Gauteng-based stores, we're now at a point where this brand has 13 still independently family-owned stores in South Africa as well as in Namibia. And their investment in brand building and their investment in industry growth goes beyond just merely selling products. Some of the tactics that we've been able to employ in building brand, and I want to share this with you because it helps you to understand that building brand can actually be a fun and really engaging and rewarding process to go into, because it's the long game that you're going into when you're building brand. So some of the things that we've done with a brand like this is engaging with associations, like like SAIA, which is the South African Institute of Architecture, and various other professional bodies, so that we could partner with the bodies to create professional development forums. So moving away from selling tiles, but creating the brand or creating a place in the minds of the professional industry that we're here to develop the industry. We're here to walk with you and work with you to make the built environment a better place. As far as our brand building with consumers, on the retail space is concerned, we've engaged in some of the most intriguing activities and activations where we've encouraged work with influencers. We have encouraged end users, where we've even been able to encourage homeowners to share their home renovation projects, and in campaigns where we've even sent people to Italy to experience the roots of where our tiles actually came from. Now, the benefit that we've engaged or that we've had from this is, aside from coming through COVID unscathed and without having to lay off staff, which was one of the biggest things that we went through at that stage. You know, we sat in the boardrooms with the senior management of the Union Tiles group, and we looked at in 2020 and we said, right, guys, how do we make sure that Union comes through this unscathed without losing people? And we were able to make decisions based on brand, based on the value system of the brand, to ensure that we came out of it strong. Fast forward a year, we were involved in one of our most interesting crises. And it's we say in marketing, stay away from religion and stay away from politics. We learned an interesting lesson with Union Tiles: stay away from cat people. And let me tell you something. If it wasn't for the fact that we had a loyal customer base who actually rallied around us, and if it wasn't for the fact that we had already established ourselves as a sustainable brand that is entrenched in our communities where we are, we had an instance we had um, where we had the a feral cat society try to take the brand to task over a feral cat problem that wasn't even a Union Tiles problem. It was a problem happening on the neighbor's property. And because Union Tiles had the bigger footprint than anyone else in the area, they started attacking my brand. They started attacking Union Tiles. And we were so overwhelmed by the community that rallied around this brand. We had the SPCA, we had other independent societies, as well as just your everyday consumer rally around the brand on social media to actually say, hang on, this is not Union Tiles. Union Tiles does not do X, Y, and Z. And they were able to come out of one of the potentially most devastating crises that they could have had, because reputational damage on social media in this world that we live in really goes far beyond what we just see. And this is one of the benefits of investing in brand. If this brand was only about selling tiles at low prices, we wouldn't have had a community rally around us to become our ambassadors, to actually say, hang on, let's get the story straight. So that's just a practical example of how the investment in brand pays off beyond just the sale. And that's the whole purpose of this talk, is to show that it's important. The bottom line, sales is vital for business success. But if you want sustainable growth, and if you want to have a community that's really got your back as a brand out there that will support you even through the most trying times, you have to invest in building brand trust and building brand love. So I want to move over into a really interesting brand in the retail space that we had a beautiful tenure with. We had a great 7-year stint with the Effecto brand, and it's a brand at the forefront of the garden and home pesticides market in South Africa. And it's a prime example of how focusing on brand trust and love can lead to sustained growth, where we always joked around this specific point is, how do you make poison sexy? How do you make someone want to go and buy poison? And you have to divert away from that, and you have to ask yourself, how do I develop a brand that people are going to want to see the benefit, and people are going to want to support, even though what I sell can actually have negative connotations. So between 2011 and 2018, we were able to work with this brand to redevelop their brand image and to re-engineer how consumers and how retail shoppers were seeing this brand in the South African space. And we were able to enjoy significant growth, obviously by delivering on promises of effective pest control solutions for both garden and home use. But more importantly, we took the brand on a journey in understanding the needs of customers. We took the brand on a journey of learning about their customers, understanding the multi-generational dynamic of who they were actually selling products to help them to personalize to create brand stories that would resonate across generations. And in the years that we had this brand, we were recognized as, in their category, one of the best supported brands, which really helped the brand to then also use that leverage to actually gain more shelf space within the retail environment. So their success wasn't solely based on aggressive sales tactics, but on building a brand that consumers could rely on for quality and efficacy, which translated into repeat business, brand advocacy, and helped them to expand the footprint. Some of our tactics that we used on just to give you some practical application was consumer engagement. we went on a journey of creating road shows and gardening shows, partnering with garden industry players on TV, in print, in online spaces, where we shifted focus. So we stopped selling insecticides. We actually stopped selling pesticides. So what did we do? We took a brand that was built around selling insecticides and pesticides, which in essence is poison, um, and we started building trust. So we started to sell beautiful gardens. We started to sell landscaped gardens, green lawns, flourishing vegetable gardens. We went on to empowering people to create a space of serenity. So we were able to build trust and rapport with gardeners and homeowners who wanted to really enjoy outdoor entertaining. And so we what we did was shift the focus from our product to our brand and our brand promise. And you'll actually see I love the latest catchphrase, weed 'em and reap, you know, because it's a brand that's actually counterintuitive. It's a brand that tells you put insecticides or put a pesticide in your veggie garden, and you'll still be able to eat from that veggie garden. So what did we have to do? We had to just educate people. We were able to build trust, build rapport. And I want to once again, in this space, in this time frame, in our tenure with this brand, we were also able to leverage the power of brand and brand trust that we've been able to build, to actually overcome one of the biggest scandals that hit their category. Because one of Effecto's biggest products was actually involved in the big Monsanto scandal of between 2015 and 2017, where globally there was this huge move to actually get people to boycott. And if it wasn't for, in this instance, once again, for the focus on brand, and for the fact that we had built a loyal customer base, we had people who were willing to swear by our brand, regardless of what the naysayers were out there. We were able to overcome and still have customers buy these products, use these products, and trust these products, because they trusted the brand. So that's just a practical example of how we use brand trust, to build customer loyalty. Then the next one I want to show you is a paint brand, because I want to show you diversity in range. Because on the one hand, I showed you Union Tiles, who'd grown from a two-store tile retailer to become the largest independent tile retailer in South Africa. Then I showed you a retail brand that's available in every Checkers, Pick n Pay, Builders, Massmart store countrywide. And now I want to show you a relatively new brand in South Africa. A brand that was born in 2001, a paint brand, a paint manufacturer and a paint retailer that has a passion for creative cementitious products. So they started their journey as a cementitious product manufacturer. So what was that? That was basically a screed to do seamless floors. And we've been able to work with this brand to grow their product range to meet the needs of consumers. So once again, we were able to get the brand to invest in understanding consumers, because you don't want to just sell a product, but you want to sell a solution. Your brand needs to answer a question. Your brand needs to deliver a solution for someone's problem out there. So what did we do with this brand? We've been able to move them from having from having one outlet in Bedfordview to having 4 outlets in strategic locations around the country, with 20 distributors in South Africa as well as Namibia. That offers a range now of designer wall and floor coatings, and we've been able to reposition how people perceive them. So it's not a brand for everyone, but it's a brand for people that want to be creative, People that don't want to just go and buy a tin of paint, but people that want to really make their house a home. So our investment in brand was really just positioning this brand as your assistant in redesigning your home in interior design. So we've been able to strengthen connection with a commitment to environmental responsibility. Once again, looking at consumers, what are the main pain points of consumers, especially in our modern world? Sustainability became a key factor. So we were able to develop a brand story that was able to resonate with people, and tying it in with effective call to actions has allowed them to grow to a place that we're really proud of. Once again, just to show that your investment in brand can work whether you are a small one shop company that has a vision for growth, that has a vision for the future, or whether you are an established concern, an established organization that is present across South Africa or present even into across the world. So our key learnings that we've had in our tenure in the space, or in our journey in this exciting world that we live in, whether we're just looking at in the cases of Effecto, Union Tiles, and the Africoat example that I've just showed, is that brand trust and love is not just nice to haves, but brand trust and love is essential for long-term success. Brands that prioritize these elements can weather market fluctuations, they can fend off competitions, they can build a loyal customer base that drives sustained growth. These brands have been able to weather the biggest catastrophe or the biggest challenge of our recorded history, COVID. Brands that have made it through COVID have made it through something that was never experienced for 100 years before. So while sales are important, it should not just be the sole focus of your business strategy. Our position as professional marketers, our position as trusted advisors to organizations looking to grow in South Africa and beyond South Africa, is that building a brand that your customers trust and love is the key to not only achieving immediate sales, but it's the key to your future growth, and it's the key to building a legacy that will outlive you. Building a brand that that ensures that your brand remains relevant and cherished in the long run. So as you move forward in your business strategies, remember that fostering deep, long-lasting relationships with your customers will always be more valuable than short-term sales boosts. You have to find a balance between pushing sales and building brand, because once you've built a brand, you still have to have promotions, but you don't have to sell below cost. You don't have to sell at your own cost, where it's costing you to run a business. You'll be able to sell value, and people will pay for what they're getting, because your brand is more than just the product or the service that you're offering. Your brand essentially is trust that lives in the hearts and in the minds of your consumers. One of the key factors that you have to, or one of the spaces you have to pay attention to when you're building a brand, is the fact that we are dealing with a multi-generational group of consumers. You have to invest in understanding your consumer. You have to invest in understanding what makes them tick, how they want to be communicated with, and what are their defining characteristics. In this example that I'm showing you, when you look at boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, and what needs to also be included is the alphas, is that they all have a different unique characteristic, where your boomers are identified as the loyal consumers. Your Gen X are material driven, your millennials are experience driven, and your Gen Zs just want efficiency. I don't want to wait, just give me what I want now. And if you don't understand that as a brand, you won't be able to tell your brand story in a way that resonates with the various consumers. And it is possible to build brand love and trust across a multi-generational consumer base. We've experienced that with Union Tiles, where just recently we had to have a discussion around the fact that your older Gen Zs are the people buying houses now. We had to have a discussion with a really conservative group of directors to let them understand that we're not telling your brand story to you right now. You need to understand that we need to bring in certain words that you're not going to understand, but the message will be the same. And as brands, we must understand this. We have to invest in learning. We have to always keep the consumer at the forefront, at the center of every single decision when we're building our brand. Trust must be the foundation. Trust is the foundation of loyalty. Remember that as a brand, you need to foster deeper emotional connections. Sustainable growth over quick wins must be prioritized so that you don't always have to go to market based on price. One of our strategies that we've been able to shift towards in the tile retail space, for example, is we no longer have to go out there with the cheapest price. Now we can go out there with the most beautiful look, because people don't want to buy a tile, they want to buy the bathroom. They want to buy the luxury of a well-designed kitchen. They want to enjoy the privilege of a well-thought-out patio or braai area where they can entertain friends. So it's in understanding what do consumers really want and what really resonates with them that you can position your brand story into a place where you can earn a spot in the hearts and the minds of your consumers. Because that is really what's going to differentiate a brand in a crowded market. So the investment in brand done right is for all size companies, not just the big corporates that have an already established brand. We've learned in 2024 and in this post-COVID world that we live in, that businesses and brands must, it's not a maybe anymore, but businesses must build capacity for existential flexibility. What is existential flexibility? It's the evolving and agile ability to remain consistent in a volatile world when everything is changing. Peter Drucker has been quoted saying the greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence, it's to act with yesterday's logic. When you're building brand trust, when you're building brand love, you can't build it based on yesterday's thinking. We can't rely on the thinking, this is how we've always done things. This is what made us successful in the past. This is where I think my brand needs to be. Brands that are successful in building their value and sustaining brand growth, investing in learning, invest in understanding the consumer, invest in in understanding how to reposition and retell their stories in a way that can resonate with their consumers, brands that understand what their consumers are going through are able to then tell a story that answers the questions that sometimes consumers are not even asking because they don't yet know how to ask. So I want to bring this message home with a really, really interesting video that's going to just talk to the neuroscience of branding. And I trust that you're going to enjoy this. So bear with me for a second as I just change over to the video.
Coke is just soda, Tylenol just acetaminophen, and Levi's are just jeans. Yet consumers go out of their way to select these specific brands over others.
An economist would say, how is this possible that a rational consumer would be willing to pay more for exactly the same thing? We love to think about ourselves as rational. That's not how it works. A very famous study done by colleagues at Duke University had flashed either the Apple logo or the IBM logo to two randomized groups of participants.
The study found that after being subliminally exposed to the Apple logo, compared to when you've been exposed to the IBM logo, participants performed better on creative tasks.
And the argument is that Apple has been telling you this story over and over again, that Apple is the brand for hip, cool, fun, creative people.
This is the true power of brands. They can influence our behavior in ways that extend way beyond the point of sale. So, to what degree can the influence of brands wreak havoc on our ability to make rational spending decisions? This is Your Brain on Money. This is Americus Reed. He studies identity and marketing at the University of Pennsylvania.
When I make choices about different brands, I'm choosing to create an identity.
with the video, but I'm going to just restart it.
Coke is just soda, Tylenol just acetaminophen, and Levi's are just jeans. Yet consumers go out of
I'm choosing to create an identity. When I put that shirt on, when I put those shoes on, those jeans, that hat, someone is going to form an impression about what I'm about. So if I'm choosing Nike over Under Armour, I'm choosing a kind of different way to express affiliation with sport. The Nike thing is about performance. The Under Armour thing is about the underdog. I have to choose which of these different conceptual pathways is most consistent with where I am in my life.
And once a consumer makes that choice, their relationship with a brand can deepen to the point where they identify with the brand like family. And once you identify with a brand, it can shape the way you behave.
And it's really interesting because they will also, if someone talks bad about that product, brand, or service, they will be the first to go out and defend. Why? Because an attack on the brand is an attack on themselves.
Michael Platt is a professor of neuroscience, marketing, and psychology whose research demonstrates how our perception of brands influences our decisions.
There's an idea in marketing, which is that we relate to brands in the same way we relate to people. It's like, I love this brand, or I hate this brand. Of course, what people say, right, can often be
Coke is just soda, Tylenol just acetaminophen, and
Economists would say, how is this possible that a rational consumer would be willing to pay more for exactly the same thing? We love to think about ourselves as rational. That's not how it works. A very famous study done by colleagues at Duke University had flashed either the Apple logo or the IBM logo to two randomized groups of participants.
the study found that after being subliminally exposed to the Apple logo, compared to when you've been exposed to the IBM logo, participants performed better on creative tasks.
And the argument is that Apple has been telling you this story over and over again, that Apple is the brand for hip, cool, fun, creative people.
This is the true power of brands. They can influence our behavior in ways that extend way beyond the point of sale. So, to what degree can the influence of brands wreak havoc on our ability to make rational spending decisions? This is Your Brain on Money. This is Americus Reed. He studies identity and marketing at the University of Pennsylvania.
When I make choices about different brands, I'm choosing to create an identity. When I put that shirt on, when I put those shoes on, those jeans, that hat, someone is going to form an impression about what I'm about. So if I'm choosing Nike over Under Armour,
All right, I'm back with you. I do apologize for that, ladies and gents. It seems like technology is just not wanting us to share that. For some reason, we've got some buffering issues, but we've posted the link in the chat, and I'd encourage you to go and watch that video because it's really going to help to drive home the message around the neuroscience of branding and what it actually does to us. So I'm sure you're going to really enjoy that.
I was just about to say, when technology fails us, it
Yes.
fails us. I think I'm part of the generation, Llewellyn, when you put it up, not to give away my age, that's looking for experience and efficiency. And
Yes.
we're still catching up to that. So thank you so much. For everybody, it's a wonderful video. You have to go and watch it. The link is in the chat. And I think it just drives home the message that we've learned from you today. You've shared a couple of brands, and I appreciate sharing a variety of different sizes, different types of products, just to give us an idea that at the core, brand is more than a logo. It is an emotional connection,
Yes.
and then you make your decisions around that emotional connection. And the video just also said it's about the way that we relate to this brand. It doesn't become just an object, it becomes a part of our identity. We relate to it as a personality. So I suppose that's why you are saying, in order to grow your business and to grow the sales, you have to be in it long term. And if you're in it long term and you're in it, I think you said something about building a legacy that's going to be here long after,
Yes.
you, the brand manager or whatever. It is really about understanding that nuance, right? It
Yes.
is more than just a logo.
Correct. Correct. Because essentially, when you go into business, when you're starting a business, when you become the CMO of an organization, your your role as a marketer is not just to promote for today's sale, but it's to ensure that the brand has long-term longevity, that the brand will outlast every single one of us.
I so agree with that. And if we get that emotional connection, and we understand that across the generations, it becomes a lot easier for us as marketers. So it's more than just the price tag, right? It's more than just the sale. And I think it drives home from big companies like Union Tiles all the way through to even in our personal lives with our own companies, and what we want to try and achieve. We have a student, Rotenda, asking, listen, I want to know more. I want to start my company. I want to start my brand. Where do I go? And I think one of your first slides is about understanding. You talked about the who, the why, and the
Yes.
what, right? And if you understand that about your brand, you can really become successful in the market. So
Yes.
you don't have to be a big international company. You can really be an entrepreneur, which the BBA with a major in marketing is about. To say, if you want to start your business, we can give you the tools. And understanding your brand and those fundamental things, I think, is really beneficial to our young marketing audience watching and wanting to learn from our expertise and experience, right? Llewellyn, you would say that as
I,
well, right?
I agree with you because once you can answer those questions for yourself as a brand, once you know who are you, what do you do, and why does it matter not to you, but why should what I do matter to my consumer? If I can answer that question, then I can build brand stories around that.
And then I like it when you talk about brand stories because people relate
Yes,
to stories and who we say that we are. For example, Apple being creative, being innovative, that's the story that we tell. Or Nike when they talk about just do it, performing, grit, having that courage, that bravery to keep on going. That's the story that the brand is telling. So I
correct.
quite enjoy that.
And once you've established your place as a brand in the hearts and the minds of consumers, you'll often see that people will make irrational decisions in favor of your brand. I'm not too sure. Just something that I always take note of because I'm an Apple fan. I'm an Apple consumer. I love the brand.
Me too.
Sometimes to my detriment because
I
technology
get
sometimes it doesn't always work with everything else. Um, but one of the things that I've always noticed, and I make a note of it whenever I'm in a major mall, whether I'm anywhere in South Africa or abroad, if you walk past an Apple store or an iStore, even on a Friday night, you will find that store full of people testing equipment, playing with phones, playing with iPads, playing with technology, and even just having discussions around technology. And this to me got me really intrigued in the power of brand because I wanted to find out for myself what is making people, instead of going for dinner, instead of doing something fun, they actually standing in a retail outlet looking at computers.
and trying and tasting
Yes.
and having innovative conversations.
And
I
having
think
fun
that
around it. And
is.
and that made me understand or take time to understand how irrational we can be when we love a brand.
When we emotionally connect to a brand.
Correct.
Absolutely. No, I love that. So I think for every one of us, there's been some pointers. I've made notes, so I'm in. In terms of the polls, I think everybody strongly agreed with the transparency in the market. I think
Yeah.
it also goes to the authentic side of a brand. Like we want to emotionally connect to brands that we feel that are real, that are
Mhm.
authentic, and that are transparent. And I think that's becoming more and more important for consumers. So for that poll, everybody is in agreement there. We had there was mixed sort of feelings, if you will, of how often to communicate. The brand or the company needs to communicate to the consumer. I sort of look at this and go, well, it depends on what generation you are in. It
Yes.
depends on what platform you are comfortable communicating. And you showed a beautiful image of the different generations and what type of technology we want to be communicated with, if you will. So that poll was quite interesting and very split for me. Then
And
the
if I can
majority,
add on their list,
you Alex.
one of the research, some of the later research is actually showing that your modern consumer, regardless of their life stage that they're in today's world, the consumer wants the brand to do the work. They want the brand to reach out and communicate with and connect with them, even though we're living in a post-poppy environment
Mm,
where we
mm.
have to respect privacy. People want privacy, but they also want the convenience of the brand knowing what they want before they want it.
And I suppose that goes to one of our other polls, where the challenge is managing expectations because you want
Yes.
to break through the clutter and connect to your consumer on a really real and authentic level, but without bombarding, being mindful of the Poppy Act, not being too intrusive, not creating a negative expectation. So I suppose that's a balancing act of managing expectations. And I think the real way to just do it for companies is to be brave enough to try something different, right? Knowing the consumer, telling the stories, emotionally connect, and then trying something different. If we are saying we're in this innovative environment where people want conversations around the marketing discipline and how it's worked and how it's moved and how it's changed, I suppose authentic brands that are willing to challenge and change will
Yeah.
ultimately grab the hearts of consumers.
Correct. And you need to be creative. Be willing to step out of what you think is the norm for where you are. Stop, avoid yesterday's thinking for tomorrow's problem. You know, one of
Absolutely.
our most innovative brands that we'd worked with was the Effecto brand. And we had to pivot from, like I said in the case study, from focusing on insecticides and pesticides to create a platform where we're teaching people how to garden.
With these beautiful landscapes
Yes,
and
and
stories
as
and the
a
images.
byproduct, as a by the way, if you use this fertilizer, if you use this pesticide, you can have a better outcome.
I agree. And I think that's why the series is also so important for us. So, for young marketing professionals, take the experience, take the expertise, but try something new.
Yes.
The world is your oyster, and you are absolutely at the right time and space to try something new and try something creative. Um, yeah, so that's the end of our lunchtime series for today. I don't know, Llewellyn, any other hints or tips or words of wisdom that you would like to leave us with?
Um, yes, what I would like to say is the bottom line for me is building brand trust and an investment in brand is for everyone. If you starting out, like the one question that came across, that they want to start, they're getting ready to start something in the new year. Start by answering those questions. Ask yourself the tough questions and spend time in answering them so that you can build and invest in building that brand trust, because that's going to pay off dividends. You won't always have to end up selling. You won't always have to find lost leaders to get people through your doors, but people will start buying the value that you're putting out there.
I love that. Thank you so much, Llewellyn, for joining us for lunch, our lunchtime conversation. And that is then to everybody that joined us in the session. Thank you so much. I've certainly learned a lot, and we'll see you next week with another guest speaker sharing some experience and expertise with us. Thank you, everybody. Have a good